saying prior to, when we think about commerce and order management as a whole, really what we're looking at from a total commerce experience from an OMS standpoint are really multiple touch points of orders flowing in from varying sources. Traditional commerce really looked at orders flowing in from the website straight down through, but not really taking into account all the other channels that people are able to interact and purchase from you these days. So when we think of the traditional touch points that we're seeing now, you've got obviously websites where, yes, you'd expect the orders to flow through the websites and those be available in the back-end order management system to see. Also from a mobile standpoint, those same channels flowing straight through. When we get into things like apps or third parties, having those flows through a single order management has huge benefits to not only yourselves but the customers. So whether you're selling on Amazon, eBay, buy.com, whether you're selling through catalogs, phone orders, mobile, social, website, kiosks, really every channel and touch point that you have flowing through a single order management system. So really allowing those orders to flow in and be opened up. So the idea is what your consumers are looking for is a single point where I can see all of my interactions with you. That's obviously the benefit to your customers. The benefit to yourselves as retailers, manufacturers, is having a unified combined place where your customer service reps can work, where you can get unified reporting so that I can see how am I doing channel by channel across the board. So it saves you both in resources and timing and also from a unified reporting. It also greatly helps put the emphasis on OMS as a potential master for inventory as a whole. Because it knows most of the data in real time or near real time, it's typically your most accurate source for inventory. And having that then be able to sync externally outwards to all of those different channels as well is extremely important. When we think of order management as a whole, we're really looking at the cornerstone of making commerce happen. You know, there is no transaction without the order management side of the house. So it is a critical component to to commerce as a whole, and probably the most critical and potentially most complex piece that you're probably dealing with. A lot of kind of things that are on the outskirts or periphery of order management are things like your inventory syncing, your customized pricing, of course your payments and different payment methods that you may have, any sort of continuity programs or subscription programs, any sort of returns are all happening in the OMS world. When you get down from a standpoint of what someone can do in OMS, it's really every action. So you have actions that you may want to expose to the customer, like I want the customers to be able to, say, process a return. And I want them to be able to do that through their members area of the site. Extremely important in OMS. Also, if someone calls up our call center, I want my call center to be able to, say, process a return or modify an order or split an order or allow a back order to happen or process a payment. So you have a lot of different components when you get to the order so that you're able to be helpful to your customers. And having that combined into a single user interface is extremely valuable. Once you get into that world, then exposing that data back to your customers so they're aware of where you are in the process. Whether something is pending shipping, something is back ordered, having that data then feed up into their members area of the site is very important. And if they guest checked out as a guest, to expose different ways for them to get to that same data. So whether that's a combination, say, email address and order number or email address and zip code, where they can say, hey, I didn't create an account, but I still want to check on the status of these orders. Also allowing your orders from multiple sources to be exposed to them in their members area as well. So say that I ordered from you online, but I also ordered catalog, then I'm able to see both of those within my members area. Once you get out of the OMS world, now we're talking about what do we do with those orders, what are the different systems that are typically being touched. And this can be very straightforward or basic for some customers, or it can be very, very complex for others. So everywhere from, you may have a single warehouse that fulfills everything, which is a pretty straightforward model. You may have multiple warehouses, so depending on what they ordered, it may depend on where I send that order. It may be that I split that order into multiple warehouses. And then that can continue to extrapolate and get more and more complicated. It may be that it's multiple warehouses with multiple drop shippers with channels applied to it. And again, all working towards the end goal of getting that to the consumer. And that may be dropping out the consumer's home or business, or it may be allowing that consumer to pick it up in stores. All of them have their nuances to it, which ultimately becomes an important part of OMS, because now you're talking about where does that logic happen. Does that logic happen in the OMS side to say you ordered this pen and that hat, and based off of that, those are fulfilled from 2 different warehouses, so therefore I need to split this order, drop it down into 2 different warehouses for fulfillment purposes, and so on can get very complicated. What we're going to do now is jump into the back-end platform so we can dive a little bit deeper into some of the concepts that we started to discuss. I'm going to hand it over to Josh, who's going to take us through the order management itself within the platform.
Well, thanks, Shane. You sounded better the second time, by the way. Cool. Thank you guys for all attending. So this is the ShopVisible Site Manager, and what you can see just even on the initial screen as soon as you log in, we have a customized dashboard that lets you kind of understand what you're doing from an order management perspective. Just in general, you can see just a handful of the reports that are available. Being able to track your current month against previous months to see where you're trending. Being able to see different promotions that are running and then what percentage of your business each promotion runs. And then really importantly is being able to see channel by channel as the orders are coming in. So like Shane said at the beginning, and we'll dive a little bit more into this, orders can originate, of course, on the website, but now you get into mobile commerce, Amazon, eBay, Buy.com, Sears, offline catalogs, being able to use our open API to push those orders into our system. So you really get a full end-to-end picture of really everything. So when I move off the dashboard and I go over to the Users tab, the only reason I go here quickly is just to illustrate one of the things that we've got in our platform to what Shane was describing is our supplier setup. And for the most part, the supplier setup is pretty straightforward. Just to start with, you can enter in some basic information, designate whether it's a dropship supplier or a warehouse supplier, whether you're going to use that supplier as a local pickup, pickup location. Maybe it's a store that you're fulfilling out of. The reason suppliers are important is because you can set up different rules at the supplier level. So as orders are coming through the checkout, depending on, as Shane mentioned, the complexity or the simplicity of the type of order you're processing in your system, if you've got a handful of drop shippers, if you've got multiple warehouses, and you want to have intelligent rules to try to understand that if an order is coming in, perhaps I want to fulfill it from the closest closest warehouse or drop shipper. Maybe that's not as important as cost. It could be that I can check costs from different suppliers. So being able to bring in different pieces of inventory information and then associate those to suppliers, and making sure that they have it on hand if that information is available to you. So drilling into our orders and view screen, this is the sort of the basic screen to look at as orders are actually coming into the system. And regardless of the actual source where the order originated, as I sort of scroll down here, you've got some basic information like the order number, who the order is from, how it was generated, and then you've got your affiliate information. Now, most of these orders in our demo count, they come from our just natural people just coming to the website. But if the order came via an offline catalog, a third-party call center, we have a lot of direct response companies that use third-party call centers and they feed orders via the API. You can flag all those orders so that you can report based on the source. If it was a credit card order, a PayPal order, an Amazon payments, as far as the system's concerned, it doesn't really care. All the orders flow through, and they, based upon your business rules and where the orders need to go out to, they are managed in the exact same manner. So if I go ahead and drill into the actual order itself, you can get some good information here. First of all, this order originated in Atlanta, Georgia. We're going to talk about some fraud rules in a moment in terms of how you release orders. This was done by one of our product folks, Sarah. So she was both the billing and the shipping side. You can see how much the order is. She paid for it on a credit card, specifically what she bought and which promotion code she used. Over on the right-hand side, your customer service reps, as they're searching, finding orders, they can add any kind of note that they want to add. to the order just to specify that. And if we have any automation in place on the orders, every time an order moves through the system, if we're integrated with an ERP system or a point of sale system or a third-party warehousing company or whatever it might be, we make sure that there's a full audit history so that the customer service rep has an easy way to sort of see what's going on. When we get into editing orders is kind of interesting because you really want to be cautious and think through the process of when is it okay for the customer service rep to edit the order, when is it okay or not okay. Generally the rule of thumb is once it leaves the building and it goes out for fulfillment, you start really moving away from cancellations and editing more into now it's time to really think about returns because the order's been sent out, it's already marked for fulfillment, so you really want to lock this down. So one of the things that we're sort of seeing as more of an industry standard is thinking through what should you set as like a buyer's remorse period, because whether the customer is going to log into the front end and edit their order themselves or whether they're going to do an RMA themselves, I'm sorry, not an RMA, cancel a line item or change something, you only want to give them so much time to do that. So if you set a nice buyer's remorse period, maybe it's an hour. If you're not shipping stuff on the weekends, set some more complicated rules around, maybe it's Monday morning from 11 o'clock so the people who place an order over the weekend have a chance to call before you actually send things out for fulfillment. But in any event, you can change the billing and the shipping information on an order. You can add items to an order. You can remove items from the order. If there was a problem with the payment type, you can change the credit card out, switch them to a purchase order, and some other things. Once the order has actually shipped out, if you need to apply a credit, easy enough to be able to just kind of come in, understand the credit, how much to apply based on your rules. If you want to get into specifying a restocking fee or something like that, so you can customize how much you're actually going to credit. And one thing I should mention, since we're talking about dollars here, obviously permissions become a huge thing. You want to ensure you're going to have customer service reps that are taking orders. You're going to have managers that perhaps are allowed to review orders. You're going to have managers that are actually, perhaps the ones that can actually apply the credit. So you need to have a pretty detailed level of permissions to, allow who is supposed to do what. You can email the customer. You can update item status. So this is kind of interesting, and this order is probably not going to be the best example, but either you can do it manually through a screen like this or actually fully automated. So the quick example is that you may have a third-party warehouse or your own warehouse really that you're shipping something to, and let's just say for argument's sake that inventory got out of sync for whatever reason, and an order came in for 5 units of this blender, but you sent out the order for 5 units and it comes back and they say, hey, listen, we only have 3 available. So we want to ship the 3, maybe, depending on the business rules, we may want to hold the whole order. But if I'm going to ship the 3, I'm going to go ahead and split the line so that I'm going to say that 2 are unavailable. So it will create an extra line item and it will only capture the funds for the 3 that you've actually shipped, allowing the consumer to actually be able to log back in and cancel the other 2 if they change their minds and they don't want them, or just leaving them on back order. Leaving them on back order, of course, that introduces a little bit more complexity because once those items are left on back order, if inventory does become available, you want the inventory that becomes available to look at your back ordered orders and decrement against those first before reapplying inventory back into your on-hand available products. Processing payments, besides, it's just like crediting order. It's sort of the other way around. If you need to re-get a capture, sometimes depending if you're automated or running things manually, the authorizations, depending on if it's a debit card versus credit card, they'll expire at different points in time, so you may need to get another authorization prior to capturing. If you're managing drop shippers, it's possible that you want to be able to manage those one order at a time, or you may want to manage them in batch. But being able to take those orders that are perhaps not automated to your warehouse, or perhaps in our system you can actually generate your pick, pack, and ship materials. We generate all the live labels for FedEx and UPS and USPS. But in either event, you may have ones that you have maybe a lower tech drop shipper that you're dealing with that you can actually just send purchase orders via email or fax to in the system as well. Lastly, we get into RMAs, and we'll jump into shipping here just in a quick second. RMAs, you may or may not need to do an RMA. It really depends on your system. So if somebody calls in and perhaps you have your return forms on the back side of your packing slip. So a lot of people do that these days. They can just fill that in and send the box back. A lot of times customers don't care. They just send the box back and they don't say anything at all. So in that case, you're not going to get an RMA. You just want to be able to process the return without an RMA. But we have it either way. If they call customer service, you can also let the customer do this on the front end themselves if you enable it. The customer service rep has the option of saying, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and generate a FedEx label on behalf of this customer, so that when they get the email with the RMA form, they'll also get a pre-printed label that they can put on the box so that you guys can pay for the return itself. So I'm going to jump off that screen real quick and just real quickly jump into our fraud settings. So we call our fraud settings fraud logic. Really, it could be for fraud, certainly. There's enough of that on the internet, but it's also for just general rules and how you want to hold orders. So I may want to have the fraud settings only apply if an order exceeds a certain dollar amount, perhaps. I may want to have, if the billing and the shipping address are different. If the customer is a known bad customer, maybe they had previously declined orders, maybe they had done a chargeback previously on their credit card, known IP addresses, different areas, different zip codes, even scenarios where you may know that if somebody buys a certain quantity of a type of product, or buys products in a certain category, the risk for fraud is a little bit higher. So what will happen in any of these cases, it will run through a whole series of rules. And you can also, just real quick, I should have mentioned, it also will allow you to specify different AVS codes. So based on the credit card type and the response you receive back, you can hold orders. Once the order is put on hold, you can have a customer service rep reviewing those orders, calling the customer, validate whatever they need to. That order will not leave the system. It's going to stay in the system until you manually release the order. Simply click a link. It'll write a note that it was released, who released it, and then from there the order will naturally flow through the rest of the way. On the shipping side of the house, shipping is one of those things that is one of the more complex part of order management or just checkout in general. Everybody has a slight difference to how they want to do shipping, sometimes a massive difference to how they want to do shipping. So we've spent a lot of time on shipping over the years in our system, whether you want to do calculated live lookups, whether you want to just create your own custom tiers, rules around the fact that, FedEx, somebody may put a P.O. box in, and you may have FedEx set up, but FedEx isn't going to take a P.O. box. Perhaps you want to use something like USPS Priority or Smart Post or UPS, I think SureShip. So you can do any of those types of things, setting up your rules. Now, where it gets even more complicated is you can actually set up regions. So right now, in our demo system, we don't have regions set up, but I can go in here and actually not only set up a region, but perhaps, I want to have contiguous U.S., I may want to have Hawaii and Alaska, something like that. And then I may want to have different international regions as well. So however you choose to set it up, you can create tier rules based on where you're shipping to. So it gets very, very granular. If you want to create tiers, east of the Mississippi, west of the Mississippi, Europe, Asia, whatever it may be. Let's see. The last quick thing I want to show on here, promotions, an order management system, and obviously in the web in general, promotions is what it's all about. So having the ability to easily associate promotions is really important. Some of the things we've found over the years, a lot of the functionality that we've got baked in, there's a ton of different promotion types that we've got. Just going kind of with the simplest one, which is maybe a 10% off type promotion code. You can come in here and you can specify things like it's a one-time use code, maybe ever. It could be just once per customer, maybe once based on their shipping address, so people don't try to use it all the time. A birthday type promotion. You may want to tie promotions just to source. So maybe I have an email campaign and I only want you to get this promotion if you came off this particular email campaign. Being able to further filter down by things like tier groups. To ShopVisible, a tier group is a customer segment. So if you're the type of customer that gets into B2B as well as B2C, where you may want to be offering a 10% discount to your consumers, but you may have other people that are logging into the website that are not retail customers. They're just straightforward, they're already getting customized pricing for you. You don't want them to get that discount. And finally, you can limit, maybe limit the promo by a subcategory. Once you get that promo put in the system, a lot of rules can apply, whether it's over a certain dollar amount in the shopping cart. You may want to tag on free shipping with it if they spend more than $250 and get 10% off. And then kind of one of my favorite features is this idea of a flash sale. So you can send out an email that says, you're only going to have 100, it's only going to apply to the first 100 people that use it. And so it starts decrementing as you go. So I'm going to jump over away from the Commerce tab here to the Analytics tab real quick and just show one or two reports, and then we'll open it up for any questions. One of the things that we like to do, obviously trending is important to us. So this particular report is pretty cool. It's going to show you today, some number of orders and dollar amount, compare it to the same day last week and the same day last year, so you can understand how your business is trending, day over day, week over week, and so on. So that's pretty much it. You want to have really good analytics just in general to understand what's going on, trend, what is happening, and then be able to make changes and impact that and see how those changes are trending over a period of time.
Yeah. Any questions at all that you guys may have, feel free to go ahead and type them in, and we'll answer any questions that you have. I think one of the questions that came in is, through different sources that may not originate with you, how can you track those, and what opportunities you have to track those sources? So in our system, we have the concept of an affiliate. An affiliate could be a traditional affiliate source. It could be something like a commission junction or a link share, but it could be really anything. It's any source whatsoever. So it gives you the ability to tag orders. So as those orders come into our system, we're able to distinguish where those orders came from to give the proper credit to each. So you can see in our demo account here, I'm getting shopping.com, so I have comparison shopping engines, Price Grabber, Natural Search. These really can be anything you want from a standpoint of thinking of where your orders are coming in from a source and be able to track where those orders are coming down to. Another question that came in is, can the cart handle supplier-specific shipping? So by supplier-specific shipping, if a product is assigned at the supplier level, then yes. So the example being that I know that, say, this pair of shoes goes from this drop shipper, and this drop shipper is unable to offer overnight shipping. Absolutely, what would happen in that scenario is that would be a shipping option that just simply wouldn't appear. Or the opposite, if it was something that supplier could handle, it would be something that would appear in their world. And to that end, and that's where things can get very complicated with just suppliers and shipping options and inventory. And Josh hit on it lightly, but we have the concept of, what do you do if a supplier has a product can be fulfilled by multiple suppliers? It is another scenario that may come into play. And so in our world, we have the concept of rules for routing purposes of who I'm going to bring it to. So as an example, these would be all different suppliers that I have set up. So say that in my original example, I was fulfilling a pair of shoes, but it was fulfilled by both Acme and Patagonia. I can create rules around this and varying things, such as where is the order coming from, time of day it was placed, what type of shipping methods they have, and come up with a scoring model to say, based off of this algorithm, I'm going to send this to supplier A versus supplier B because it's cheaper for us to fulfill the product that way. So there's a lot of capabilities around that. And I know we're a little bit over time and started late, but wanted to make sure we got in a couple questions. If there's any other questions, please email us or let us know. We're happy to answer any questions you may have. But we certainly appreciate the time, and sorry for the technical difficulties at the beginning of the meeting.
Yes, thanks for bearing with us, everyone, and we're going to have this webinar recording available, so feel free to reach out if you would like a copy, and thanks again for joining. Have a great weekend.